Hello out there, welcome to another episode of Walk the Dog Cinema. I know I've been posting a lot lately. I wanted to get my final stuff in for the last of the month last night, and wanted to, I know I kind of teased what I was going to do, and kind of a special one to end the month that I watched last night. It's one of my all-time favorite series, something I grew up with, and that is Return of the Jedi. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. And yes, it is the subset of Love Conquers All, especially Return of the Jedi, above and beyond just the whole Star Wars series and everything else with that. And I'll get into that in just a little bit. But like I said, it's been a fun month checking out romance movies and movies in general with that love set. And so I'm going to just be getting right into it. Enjoyed everyone following along, and I'm going to see where we go, right? And again, Return of the Jedi, came out in 1983, and I'm going to say, like, this is kind of a movie I know deep down, seen it hundreds of times, and it never gets old watching it. Empire's the better movie, but for me, Return of the Jedi is my favorite of the three in that regard. And I was talking to a friend about the whole Star Wars thing, and we were kind of going over stuff about three-act acts in a movie, how you get a beginning, middle, end. You get the three acts in a movie. And Star Wars, not only does each movie have three acts, the whole series is set up as a three act in that regard. And they really did a genius job, Lawrence Kasdan writing Empire and Return of the Jedi, kind of following that, where Empire definitely is that middle act, and the whole frame of the movie is the middle act, and it does have a beginning, middle, end in that regard. And Return of the Jedi is really good with that stuff. It is the climax of the series, and we get our beginning, the hero's journey, showing off Luke Skywalker going to save his friend Han Solo. We get the middle act where they're in peril. We get Luke Skywalker turning himself into Darth Vader, and then we get the awesome climax with the Ewoks and the raid on the Death Star and everything else like that, right? And the movies are everything that should be kind of taught in a film school in that regard, like from script writing to just general things for script writing and even directing. All three directors, George Lucas does a great job in the first one, the second one, and then Richard Marquand does in the third, and Lawrence Kasdan writes really good scripts for the second and third one. And overall, if you haven't already figured out, big spoiler alert, I'm going to assume everyone has seen Return of the Jedi. And so I'm going from that basis. It's a great movie. It's one of my all-time favorites. As a kid growing up, I was one of those that stood with my father on the very first day it opened up, got in line probably at 10 o'clock in the morning, huge line, didn't get to see it until darn near midnight, waited all day, and the movie delivered, right? And you just see it all come together and how it ends, and it ends beautifully, and the movie has always stuck with me. And over the course of the years, you watch it and you try to figure out what's going on and why it resonates so much. And then we get the Disney stuff, right? And why does The Last Jedi, as a Star Wars fan, piss me off so much, right? I know there's people who like The Last Jedi, and there's people like me who think that it literally wipes his ass with the Star Wars universe, especially with the role of Luke Skywalker. And I'm going to get into that on this, and the whole crux of why the third one works so well and really what Luke Skywalker represents. And Luke wasn't my favorite character. It was always Han Solo. You know, he's the badass guy in the first one. I wasn't the big Force kid and Luke and all of that stuff. But as I got older and had kids of my own, you know, and you show them Star Wars, you know, Luke really grew on me. And especially watching the third movie so much and what he represents. And the biggest thing is, you know, Return of the Jedi is love saves the galaxy. It really comes down to that. And that's the whole personification of Luke Skywalker, that no matter what happens after Return of the Jedi, Luke has conquered something that no one else has. And that's the biggest thing with him is that his love for his dad, his love for his sister, his love for his friends wins out at the end of the day. And I'm sorry, like, especially with the new stuff, when you've kind of gone through that in life, that's stuff you don't forget. And so doing an arc off of that and after that is going to be really hard. It's kind of like Superman, right? You know, you have a god who's all hopeful, and what are you going to throw at him to test his mettle? And you know, this is the big factor that everyone, I think, seems to forget, is Luke's not the most powerful Jedi because he can wield the Force with absolute power and do all this crazy stuff, and he's, you know, this God-fearing Jedi. No. Luke's humanity is his greatest power. Luke's love and his intrinsic natural way in how he touches on the Force is his power. He is the strongest Jedi because, just like Yoda says, when you can't really see the future and a lot of it can be misinterpreted, Luke's connection to the Force is so great because of his love of his friends and his trust of his friends and his love for his father and his sister, and all of that is so in touch that he can anticipate and see things better than anybody else and feel it. There is not a misstep that Luke makes in Return of the Jedi, so to speak. He absolutely, from beginning to end in that movie, wins out. And he can only do that because he saw it beforehand, knew what his feelings were showing, knew it deep down. He knew better than Yoda. He knew better than Obi-Wan. He tells him in person, no, I felt it. I can't kill my own father. You know, he's the one that knows that Leia is his sister when he really digs down. And he feels it. When he touches into the Force, that is what makes him the greatest Jedi. That is what makes him the most powerful Jedi, is that he can sense that. Unlike Yoda, unlike Obi-Wan, unlike Mace Windu, unlike any of them, he cannot be blinded by the dark side. The Emperor, you know, Palpatine is showing, and granted that's the prequels and all that, but that they can distort the Jedi's vision, but they couldn't distort Luke's. And so think about that. But even in that movie, before that's even established in the prequels, they couldn't do it in this one. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Emperor has seen the future, right? And he completely misplays it, because the fact of the matter is you can't outread Luke. You just can't do it. And so that love of his father, that he's going to turn him from the dark side, pull him back, which makes, you know, the whole trilogy now about Vader's redemptive arc on that whole thing, not Luke's arc per se. I mean, we could look at it, it's the Skywalker family's arc, but in that sense, you know, Return of the Jedi has Luke's arc where he conquers it, and then we get Vader's redemptive arc where he saves Luke's life. But that's the key. Luke doesn't have to bring a lightsaber to the Emperor to take him down. He doesn't. He almost kind of gives in to Vader in that regard, but he takes control of his emotions, and his love wins out. And he digs into the Emperor, tells him he's wrong, and he knows when he reaches out for his father. There might be a little bit of a glimmer there that Luke's like, did I make a mistake there for that? But at the end of the day, he didn't guess right. He knew right. Vader kills the Emperor, and then of course, you know, you get the moment Vader tells Luke after he sees him with his own eyes, "Tell your sister you were right." And we get that. You see Luke staring at his father with love in his heart, and you know, he gets to see the ghosts at the end. And you know, that's the amazing thing with Luke, is that that's what makes him the most powerful Jedi. You know, that he can harbor that love, he can use all that emotion and feeling, control it, and see everything out there, you know. And when I think about those things, as you can see, you know, I don't know, you know, you get a little, it can still even choke me up a little bit. You know, yes, Star Wars is kind of the guy's, you know, chick flick is a guy flick, right? And I mean, it's not guy flick, but yeah. But you know, I just think back like to my own children and things like that. As a father, you know, it's that resonates so deeply. You know, like, who wouldn't want that as their hero, right? You know, this person who can do all of those things and save the galaxy with that love. I mean, as a dad, I'd go to the ends of the earth to save my children in that regard, you know. And I understand where Luke's coming from in that, and I wish I could read it just as well as he could, or those things, you know. It's quite an amazing feat of writing to have that, you know, Luke beats the Emperor without raising his sword to him, and it's a great moment in cinema to see that. And so, you know, you get that, and just. So the fact that Luke has gone through that, you know, we have the very beginning of the movie where he literally sets up everything against Jabba, right? You know, they're going to go rescue Han Solo. And that's what makes Luke a badass within that. Yeah, he's dressed in his black and he's kind of, oh, wow. And you know, he's gone from the white, and he's kind of foreboding. But what I really want you to think about is that, you know, he sets up R2-D2 with the lightsaber. Like, he had seen the Scarlet Pit. He had knew that would be the end. You know, they probably knew, you know, he kind of knew that Leia would probably get caught. She doesn't play it off as though she wasn't surprised in the aspects of that. And when she gets her opportunity, she kills Jabba, right? And the whole sequence goes down almost as Luke sees it. You know, of course, there's certain things that he can't see, you know, but it plays out pretty much the way Luke wanted it to play out. Probably the biggest surprise to him was the Rancor part. But even there, you know, we get Luke assessing the situation. He's in control of his emotions. He figures it out. He's scared, but, you know, Jedis aren't supposed to not feel. Like, it's how you conquer those fears, right? And Luke's the master of that. And he gets the bone. He gets away from the Rancor. He throws the rock, knocks the Rancor, you know, kills the Rancor, right? Gets out of this situation. There he is with Han, and he's like, how we doing? Oh, we're doing as usual, you know. But at no time is Luke ever scared, you know. And he literally tells Jabba, you know, it's your last chance, Jabba, you know, when they're over the Scarlet Pit. And so from beginning to end, Luke has it set up. You know, he's in control of his mastery with that. And it doesn't come from his force powers. It literally comes from Luke knowing the future in that regard, and how he sees it, and he knows what his friends can do and how they'll stand by him. And it makes him a master tactician and planner in that regard. And, you know, it's really great to see. And then, of course, we get it when they're going to Endor's moon, you know, and they're in the shuttle, and he feels Vader, and Vader feels him, and, oh, I'm jeopardizing. And that's because, you know, he kind of reads it, and he's unsure what Vader's going to do. You know, he can't see through that. But then, at the same time, you know, they do land, and every little step that he does, when he sees the Ewoks, you know, he tells everyone to relax. He doesn't see this turning out bad. Luke's completely right. You know, how would he know that? It's because he's in touch with the Force so well that he reads it. He knows. He can sense it all. And from beginning to end in that movie, Luke does not make a misstep. Yes, his love of Leia almost gets him to kind of go after Darth way too much, and it makes him a little angry. And at the end of it, he realizes that he's not going to become that. And that's kind of that moment where it galvanizes. And that's where I get to, like, even the new stuff with The Last Jedi. Why? That's not my Luke. I detest that movie because of that. I mean, there's other things wrong with that movie, but the main factor is Rian Johnson didn't know who Luke Skywalker was. The fact that they set up all this, that he would create Kylo Ren after saving Darth Vader, is just chicken bleep beyond all doubt. There's no way Luke would ever make that mistake or ever not know his feelings about the future. And so the whole concept of The Last Jedi is dog crap from that. And as you can see, yes, it ticks me off because he's such a great character in cinema. To be pissed on like that is disgusting to me. And those factors, again, Luke is the most powerful Jedi because of his feelings and how he can control them and emote and see and tactician from it. And, he saved the galaxy with love. Not violence in per se, but with love. He turned Darth Vader with love. Love for his father. He felt it in there, the good in him, and he was going to bring him out of it to give him a redemptive arc instead of just outright killing him. No way would Luke in any way, shape, or form ever turn back on his friends, especially his friends' children, because he saw some vision. It's poppycock. And it's what makes Return of the Jedi so great, is that we get that with Luke, and it's so deserving of everything. And Luke as a character is just one of those that is kind of legendary to me, like Indiana Jones, the Terminator from Arnold, just these kind of iconic characters that just resonate because, they either, the unkillable cyborg or, just, again, because of love or the sense of adventure. But, to say that, I wanted to reiterate, as you can see. So when you watch Return of the Jedi again, I want you to think about the process of all of that within watching it. If you ever watch it again, that here's a guy through beginning to end and how badass Luke is in that movie, not from a skill set or a power set, but from a mind and emotional part that you can see Luke really playing it over in his head through the whole movie. The movie sets it up great that from beginning to end, Luke is a step ahead of everybody else, and that love wins out. And love, again, saves the galaxy. So I hope you enjoyed the month and my Return of the Jedi review, one of the greatest movies all time. And have a great one, everybody.